Hello my friends, isn't it time we took a look at Link again? Yes it is. Isn't it time we took a look at Tezos again? Yes it is. There will be chapters for this video down below so you can skip if you're not interested in both coins, but of course let's just take a look at them now. My name's Rocky Outcrop. I'll shrink myself down into the corner. My name's Rocky Outcrop, as you can see here. Whoop. And of course this is 100% quality technical analysis. I'd appreciate it if you hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already. But of course I know that over 50% of the subscribers or of the viewers of any given video have already subscribed, so thank you to you for all of that good stuff. Let's see if we can get the channel to grow. We already know more than half the people watching this video know that the channel will grow at some point. Let's just see when that happens. So what we're looking at here in terms of the link pricing, and what I'll do in today's episode is I'm going to separate them out again. I'm going to do Link all the way through that, then Tezos all the way through that, okay? And what we see here with regards to the link pricing is that we have this potential for a measured move here, or the wedge, if we do break outside of this zone, either, in either direction potentially, and that could take us to a couple of key areas in the market. And what we have in the background is this downward sloping pitchfork. Now I've been told by people that they just tune in, they're like, oh my god, that looks so scary in the background. Try not to be too scarified by these things. Honestly, we're not doing too badly. We have come back into this pitchfork again, despite the fact that it slopes towards the downside. Ultimate goals in terms of any proper trend is to take out your previous highs and lows. Therefore, any pitchfork or not, we're still ultimately going to be looking up towards those high 160,000 Satoshi areas, the sort of $20 plus zones. You know, in terms of looking at all of this, the keys are obviously to be taken out these zones here in at the 123,000. 130,000 up to 160,000 area. Pop the drawings back on again. Then of course this, what looks like scary, is just showing you where you have to go along the way to be able to even start to get towards thinking about these things, you know, because you're not going to be getting a break above 164k until you've gone outside of this pitchfork, just as a starting point, right? So don't, this is just the way it is. It's not inherently one or the other thing, you know. It's not got any sort of real significance to your mood. It just shows you where we are, and of course we're managing to sustain levels currently in and around about this zone. Now I'd like to see is staying above 87k and then being able to push past the 100k area, 93k being the most important area, and we've gone below that currently, which is obviously a bit of a disappointment. Now what are these these moving averages I've got, by the way? Just want to point out for this episode I'm using a different series of numbers. I'm using 10, 18, 36 and 54, just small stuff, not using any of the big ones, not looking at death crosses or anything like that. These are of course the magic numbers for nuclear isotope stability. Good stuff, right? That's what I'm using. If you want to chat about it, you can. Absolutely. I can chat about it all day long in Discord, but I'm not going to waste time talking about it here. What we see here is that actually between the number 10, which is the yellow, and the 54, which is the pink, we have this battle on the go. What I want to see, of course, really is this overtaking it and moving towards the top side. The yellow being below the pink is kind of the more significant area for us, looking back in the past here and seeing this, of course, as being the key turnaround for us. Now, of course, you'd obviously be going past other moving averages along the way, and that's what we could see. So if we were to take out the pink again, we'd have to go past the green and the blue and whatever else to then reshape the averages so that they're stanced in a bullish way. It's not so much like this scenario where we came down and we were able to go down underneath the pink and back up again without the other moving averages having actually turned around in terms of their positioning. So what we can see here in terms of the significance of this is that we're below it while the others are also below theirs as well, and it's negatively positioned. So movements down past 87k would become quite negative at that point. Movements up above the 100k area, very much positive, as all of these moving averages are then begin to be dragged up into the proper positions for them. So that's what we're looking at just on that one. In terms of this movement, it's consolidating, so I'm not going to get too bogged down in terms of divergence. I can tell you though that we have a sort of sideways slope, if anything a downward slope I suppose, in terms of DMI with this aspect right now here. This has all been done on the 2-day time frame so far, by the way. In terms of the daily time frame, you can see that while we have this negative structure with regards to the moving averages, just like we had on the 2-day, it's that we're, there is the chance here of us being able to go and turn these things around. Of course there are, but the significance of those 100k areas and everything all still matches up. But you can see we're in a negatively stanced position here, and we're having a battle between the sort of the 10 and the 18. How will that go? Well, currently not so great, but so long as we stay above our into the parallel channel, okay, key area 93k. Moving on to the USD pricing then, and saying the same sort of scenario is building up here. We have highs coming in that are not actually divergent as well. That's good to see. If we were to pop the Ichimoku cloud on for a second, and I have changed the numbers on this, by the way, so that they match in better with the cryptocurrency, given our lack of I had changed the numbers, but TradingView's gone ahead and reset them back to standard for me, so forget what I was saying there. Whatever. You can see that we've come up and we pushed into the zone here, and we found resistance at the top end of this wedge, come back down a bit, in around about the 382. Can we push on sideways or upwards at least? I want to see us maintain this price here at 1160, really to be able to continue to do that. And we've got our moving averages and stuff below us as well, of course, as well with our Ichimoku specific ones as well, lending a little bit of an idea about the importance of staying above this zone, because doing so means that we can then iterate out here above the cloud later on as well, which of course would be dandy for the price action. But right now, so long as everything kind of stays above this area at the lower end of the cloud, and of course where we see our lows previously, because of course that's where that's going to be coming in at, is going to be important for us as well in the meantime. And why? Because you've got the 236 in there at 1033. In terms of this then, of course, like I said, these two highs here matching up and converging below, so they're not divergent there in terms of the RSI. But in terms of stochastics, what we can see is that there's actually this downward movement now, having had a non-divergent top as well. So there is the potential for this to kind of continue to bleed off down the way over the next wee while, looking for these key areas of support to come in and save the price action should they need to do so. And that could happen at any of these. Could happen at 1170, 1138, and 1065, and then 1033 would be the sort of the 30-cent increments towards the downside there if I was looking at this with regards to where we could potentially see a turnaround at if we were to continue this upward movement. But in terms of the smaller time frames, we've got this downward position here. In terms of the 4-hour time frame, there is the potential for us to kind of find our feet in here at the baseline, and of course as well at this key inflection point that we had in the markets and the RSI drawn out before, which we're still above. Nice to see. We have come down here towards the potential for sort of oversold territory. Any movements down past this area could give us a bit of hidden bullish divergence on the stochastics, but that's that as it stands for now. What we actually see here is that we would like to see these areas of support come into play soon, because we have a cross here while the DMI is above its negative. We saw that it had sloped down severely after having crossed up above both of the lines. The DMI, the ADX is moving down the way here, so we want to see this come in here and either go on down the way if this divergence is going to, or if these two are going to diverge, the negative, the pink and the yellow are going to diverge. Want to see this come up here so that we can get it to go into chop rather than to go trending negative. But at the minute, we'll just take what we can get and see if we can see a turnaround at any of those points that I spoke about on the higher time frames. As you can see, there is of course this area down below which could give us that impetus should we need it to sink further. Here we are on the Ethereum link charts now, and as you can see, in the past I have obviously gone wild with the brush already, made some very incredibly brilliant points. No doubt last week's videos were very, very good, which is why of course more than half the people who watch this show are subscribers. I think that's probably one of the best stats you can get, is that you've got and YouTube must surely see it at some point when it decides to stop shadow banning me and everything else. They're like, well, hey, the people watch his stuff, right? They like it, they watch it. Anyway, Ethereum price action, it's doing more or less what we thought it could do. It came up, it tested the top area here. It didn't actually manage to get any to properly open and close above it. Like 24-hour time frame shows us that quite clearly. We didn't open and close above it on the 24-hour. On the 12-hour, we didn't either do that. We opened above it and we closed above it, but we did it in a close open way, as in we didn't open and close, we closed and opened in terms of the movements upwards. So of course, pardon me, that's not satisfactory. 4-hour time frame, we got what we would have wanted in terms of moving up here, but as you can see, very much didn't work out for us. Reasons for that, looking up the way, you can see that we have this divergence here between these two highs. So there's that. For instance, the stochastics showing the same sort of thing. Downward slope here in the stochastics ticked over right at the top there as well. Didn't manage to recover itself. Got a little bit of a sort of regular head and shoulders there. In the DMI though, what are we looking at? Oh, darn. Because that's what I'm interested in right now. Myself. I want to see it. We have got that same scenario, downward slope here, across here. Want to see if this can continue down and to become chop to prevent trends, or else indeed to just flick back around again. The ideal situation, of course, being something like this. Or something like that, overall. But of course, that isn't necessarily bound to happen. But this is where we are now, and longs would have taken profit already. Looking at all these things at that point and be waiting for potentially another re-entry, of which there are several opportunities. Managing your risk can be done easily, even where we are just now, or indeed you could look down to this basin here if you were wanting to be thinking about it from that point of view, or indeed as well if you were to look down and see some sort of challenge of this lower line here, the ascending triangle. All of that totally fine. I'd prefer to see things move up the way and go outside of these zones sooner rather than later. But of course, that's where we are just now. If we do see the prices go down the way, is there even potential for getting something like hidden bullish divergence on the go? Well, with the way that this was so low before, I doubt it, but there is the potential. In the stochastics, it's more of a potential for that, given the distance between this previous low and where we've come so far in terms of these movements down the way. So that's what we're looking at with regards to Link. And I'm going to move over to look at Tezos now. So thanks very much for joining me for Tezos. If you're only watching this section of the video, by the way, that's fine. I hope you're enjoying the ability to use the the chapter selections. But if you want to go back and watch the Link stuff, then that's good. Also, if you've managed to watch, you tuned in for the Link stuff, and then you just find yourself still watching this thing, that's good. There's lessons to be learned here. Let's take a look at the charts together. So we're looking at first off, Tezos versus Bitcoin. Let's bear in mind a couple of things about the dynamics of the prices right now for now. Okay, so in terms of the dollar pricing, we've got it in about 213. So that's where we knew we had a key area in terms of support. We talked about the 236 being in and around about there. You can see that we're there at the minute. You can also see then that the prices have come down here to their equal lows, currently actually just pushing past that with a lower low slightly perhaps. With regards to the Bitcoin parent. And what we also see is the Bitcoin parent having gone up to 13,200. So it's pushed up to highs today currently. And what we see at the same time is that the dollar parent has only managed to really sustain itself with regards to its oscillation and potential for higher lows and potential for higher highs, where you could have this trend, where there's the potential for this trend happening. It's still in place, but we've not managed to continue that positively as yet to be able to sort of celebrate the fact that it's there, or praise its effort so far. So this is where we find ourselves right now with these dynamics, and what this is actually lending to happening is for further, even more of this divergence to potentially be showing up here on the Bitcoin parent for us. So a movement down the way in terms of Bitcoin. While there is a sideways movement for against the Tezos versus the dollar, will result in an upward movement versus Bitcoin. Movements sideways for Bitcoin, while there is an upward movement versus the dollar, will indeed also result in an upward movement for this. What we would like to see happen, of course, then is for the crucial areas to be respected in terms of the dollar pricing, given that what we're doing there is operating against a trend, because the Bitcoin prices, of course, have been trending themselves, right? And that means that what we need to do then is remember that any positive analysis that we do during a downward trend on this asset, while its corresponding asset is trending towards the top side, is going to be doubly important to remember that the trend is your friend. Right. So, and that is clear, and I've made that clear throughout this entire process. Anyhow, here we are with this now, this area, and we can look and say, should we see movements towards the top side, and they take out where we see the current baseline, the conversion line, sorry, the yellow line in the MACD on the Ichimoku cloud, then of course things can become positive until such times as that, then they're not. And just hide in the Ichimoku cloud and pop in the moving averages back on. By the way, if you're wondering, I'm using the magic numbers for nuclear isotope stability. Which is fine. Then what we can see here is that we've very much still got this negatively stanced, very much bearish positioning of all of these. What we really want to see happening, of course, is that these things start to cross towards the top side, and it's been such a while since we've had any of that. And of course, when they do cross, we're looking to see them all crossing up the way and actually forming positive movements. Now, when we saw them crossing before here in these sections, what we can see is that the knock-on effect from it, when the yellow crossed the green, it didn't actually then cross the blue thereafter and came and recrossed the yellow and the green. Then they both crossed over the blue, and the yellow crossed the pink, but they didn't all cross over, and then they just kind of reverted back down the way again. And it was in this section here when things got the most potentially positive, when we saw them crossing up the way, but at the same time we had a high here, and then a lower high here, and a high here which was higher than the previous one, and this is operating as part of a downward trend. So what you're looking at during this period here was hidden bearish divergence, continuation divergence for more lows while this was all going on. So what we want to see happening is kind of the inverse of that, where we see them changing around. Potentially we've got some bullish divergence, etc., etc., etc. on the go. Well, we're positioned for that potentially. If we see these things cross around, then obviously that involves a movement in terms of price positivity one way or the other with regards to this pairing. Let's move over to the biggest element of control that this would have for achieving that. Sorry, I had an itchy nose. Shouldn't use the microphone to scratch my itchy nose, should I? Well, here we are. And this is the dollar pairing. And what we're looking to see is, can we follow this trend line through the cloud or not? I do actually want to have this set up the way that I wanted to have it before, but anyway, do we follow this trend line through the cloud? If we go directly through it here, you're going through at like its thickest point. If you go through it slowly and lumberingly and all the rest of it, then you do get an opportunity to go through it at one of the thin points. So this could, happen like that along those lines. What you can see here in terms of, making comparisons between the clouds and whatnot is that this is trying to go through that thick way, and it's hard for it, etc. So can we see something? Can we see this go up the way currently in terms of the resistance and whatnot in the 24-hour time frame? You can see that the cloud has in fact sort of functioned with regards to that. But really, I'm looking towards the baseline, the conversion line here. I'll just hide my moving averages for now. The yellow and blue line in terms of support and resistance right now for us, and can we move on past that? And of course, take out this. Now, this has gone sideways for long enough as a result of the previous 26 days of price action, or whatever we have this set to. 26 days of price action, which means that we've got to the point where we could actually, challenge this sideways movement and get it up towards the top side. Now, as well, if we do that, then let's bear in mind that the distance between the sort of the thickness of this thing, if you were to look at its a lateral in terms of it's been like. You can see that this is the width of the distance away that's positioned as the lagging line on this thing. So if you're talking about Chiku lines and whether or not you'd be able to make any positive moves off the back of this trend towards the top side, that really what you're looking towards is not only us pushing past this zone of the cloud, of course, but then the prices managing to sustain themselves up with the cloud for that period of time, for 26 days, so that the closes from this period here will be able to be outside of the cloud again in 26 days. So we can see that's not the case. The closes here will ultimately end up being inside the cloud when the lagging line is here, unless the prices are above that zone. So what we need to see is the prices being up here to be outside of the lagging line. So if we take a little measuring stick here, and we know this is pretty much 26, and we're saying, when are we going to have a really confirmed price long, well, if we would need to see that the price is moving up to this region here by this point here, by mid-December, up to this 268 area, for the lagging line to then come up towards this zone outside of this area, the cloud, where people then would be willing to take longs based on the sort of the classic Ichimoku sort of trading ideology with regards to this Chiku span in terms of strategy. So that's what you'd be looking at there. Okay, I hope it made sense during that, but I'll probably be trading it along the way here. And if we can remember where all those lines are and everything as I go hide this Ichimoku cloud and stick on these moving averages again here, then I'll be looking, I'll be looking intensely at how these all perform in and around about this zone here of this potential triangle area, which could potentially happen over the next wee while before coming up into this key area here, if this is going to be one. And then, of course, talk about the trend turnaround. And one way that I'm able to do that quite easily is simply by looking at what we already have on the charts from a while ago, is this pitchfork in the background, and it shows us the clear areas as well anyway. So there's 100 different ways. All roads lead to Rome, I think you'll find. Looking at the Tezos versus Ethereum pair, and then it's the same scenario again. We're inside this symmetrical triangle area again, pushing on. We're now going to then maybe complete the pattern over here with, if I could have just remember when I've got the drawing tool out, that'd be well handy for me, but I can't. Then maybe we're going to get this and just come to fruition at the end of this thing. But right now we've come all the way down to these 52s that we spoke about, up here as being a potential for us. If I have to point out the fact that this horizontal line, is another crucial area for us. If we do fail and push down the way, then the targets have got to be down there towards those 40s. We're talking about another 10 to 20% drop off in price. If we do manage to push up, then go past 55, and it's not a million miles away, and we could be looking towards a potential measure move which takes us up past our previous highs, or in this section, changes around the picture past our previous lows, gives us a couple of options in terms of looking at different things. The downward trend is very much still in place on this 24-hour time frame, 3-day time frame. We're seeing that the downward trend is still also very much in place, but there is the potential for stochastics divergence. No, there's not actually, not right now, not with the way things go, unless they turn around before the end of this period. Likewise, the RSI, everything just looks really negative on this one. I mean, that's just the fact of it. That's just the fact of the matter. So until such times as we're seeing things turn around, the trend is still going to be your friend, which of course is to the downside, by the way. So look out for that. So interesting stuff. I'm wondering as well, I've been meaning to look at this sort of idea on Bitcoin for a while and whatever as well. Let me just have a quick brief look and see if we have got something potential similar operating for us. This is just a bonus. This is not for other people. The Bitcoin one, I'm not going to edit this into the Bitcoin video. Just wanted to see, there's these potentials that could be happening for us with regards to this current formation with on the oscillators. Now, this could be done on both of the oscillators down below, the stochastics as well. Same sort of general principle that we're looking at here. I wonder then if we see this having that impact in terms of the pricing. Maybe if I go to the 12-hour, then this will look even more. Right. Anyway, so just so you know, we're at a point in the market where overall the whole market's everything. We want everything to go well for us, okay, and then things can start to be positive. Right now, it's a bit depressing having this chart as being part of our fundamental look at the charts. Overall, you've got Ethereum versus Bitcoin with its own depressing stance on things. Ethereum versus the USD, we're still in here looking at, obviously, we're still above our specific Ichimoku cloud lines, having drawn these all out. This is the Ichimoku cloud right here, by the way, but it's done manually, if you like, and we're still above our certain key areas. So like that, you can see that that's obviously good, and we can see that here on this chart without the divergence. So things could get worse, or they just suddenly, or what ends up happening is that if the RSI and whatever does come up to these areas here, and we don't take out this high at the 478 area, then we've got hidden bearish divergence, which would be lovely to see happen if we were to get then a downward movement here on this sort of thing versus the Tezos prices dragging them towards the top side. This video's gone on for too long, taking too long to explain simple concepts, but still, Good stuff. It sets us up for a good week. I'll see you later in the Discord for that group chat if you want to be a part of that. And yeah, another good week trading. Got a good idea of the macros for us and the markets. Got a good idea of where we stand with regards to the oscillators. Look across the different assets. If you want to see the Bitcoin Ethereum video, very, very good video, by the way. Very, very good. Well worth a watch if you want to have a handle on where we are in general, if you're going to be trading these assets over the next wee while. And that is us set up for a good week. Excellent. So I can come back again tomorrow with some more technical analysis, maybe even make things nice and simple, really simple again, and see how it stands now that we have this thorough introduction to the week. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name's Rocky Outcrop, by the way. If you've watched this, like I say, statistically, chances are that you're already a subscriber. But if you're not, then it would be cool if you could hit that button. People subscribe here for a reason. This is transformative trading. After watching this channel for a couple of months, ask what, if you don't want to subscribe, whatever, you can go ahead, ask anybody, I don't know, or go back and watch the old videos. I don't know. The reports are that this is transformative technical analysis, that over the long course, over a few months watching this video, your trading will increase. Your ability to trade will increase dramatically, the way that things are explained here on this channel. So yeah, take advantage. Okay, cool. Nice one. Catch you later. See you. Thanks.